What's up, everybody? Today we're going to talk about a huge topic that I think every real estate investor needs to know about, and that's how you can fund your deals with other people's money, right? You always hear OPM, and what is the biggest part of other people's money? It's IRAs, tax-free other people's money. So stay tuned in because it's going to be a great, hard-hitting topic today about how you can get all of your deals funded with no money out of your pocket. Let's get back into it right after this.
Teach me something.
All right, welcome in. What's up, Rai?
Hey, Mr. Kemp.
How's everybody doing? Thanks for joining us live today on YouTube and on Facebook. I'm really looking forward to this topic because here's the thing. I talk about all the time that I bought, hey, I bought my first 50 houses without a single dollar coming out of my back pocket, which is true. And a big part of that was because I was able to fund the cash needs that are coming from a deal from somebody else's back pocket, right? It's not that these deals don't take money.
Yeah, and I'll say this. I'm a bit nervous on this topic, mainly because, I mean, if you've ever called back to the episode I did like last fall with Haley Gann about IRAs, clearly I know nothing about the subject.
Right.
And that's one of the reasons we have Quest come in every Friday. But yet, I think I'm with a lot of people watching, because I'm sitting there watching them, and it's like,
Right.
I don't know if you picked up on that sound effect.
Well, here's the fortunate part about this conversation that we're going to be having. I don't know crap about IRAs either. Let's do a live show for
You don't need to. But that's the beauty of it, because you talk about other people's money. Well, then you also have the other people's time, which is the knowledge factor. But let's get into the meat of this conversation.
Absolutely. So IRAs hold, and I wish I was better about knowing these specific stats, but IRAs hold a massive market share of people who have money sitting in an IRA somewhere. Now, something to know is that all of these IRA types, a traditional IRA, a Roth IRA, a SEP IRA, whatever that is, even HSAs and that kind of stuff count as IRAs, they can be self-directed, right? The self-directed IRA that you hear us talking about is not a thing. It's not you can't go to an IRA shop and say like, hey, can I open up a self-directed IRA? And they're gonna be like, oh yeah, that's all I need to know.
Yeah, well, what I was gonna say is one thing I did pick up with all the Quest shows is self-directed IRA is literally just a marketing term.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what?
Right, and that's something to know. So what we can know here is that people have this massive share of money sitting in their IRAs, and I went to Eddie Speed. He had a 3-day thing this last weekend, and Quest was actually out there speaking. If you can't tell, Quest is a great company to work with IRAs. And they were talking about, I think that they manage something like $3.5 billion worth of assets, and something like 40% of that is just sitting in cash.
And $3 billion is obviously more than your private capital guy that has like $1 million or a couple $100,000 ready to mail to you.
I love bringing it up that 1 million seconds is 11 days, 1 billion seconds is 32 years.
Which is more.
Which is more. I needed to set you up for a which is more moment. Got him, coach. So we have a huge amount of cash sitting there, and so what you need to know as the investor is not what Haley Gantt needs to know from Quest IRA. It is not what the custodians need to know. We need to know, hey guys, there's a ton of cash sitting here that we get to use for our investment, and we need to know how to get that cash put into our investment. That's what we need.
I was actually having this conversation maybe 2 days ago, and what it is again, shout out to Quest. One of these days we'll give Grant with Creative Cashflow a shout out, but right now it's all Quest Trust. But I was just curious because it's like you've got all these people with money, and Quest, because they're the facilitator, the custodian, they're not allowed to marry money with deal. They're just there to put everybody in the same room. So it's like, why isn't there a broker service out there to marry the two?
Well, it's a legality thing. It's a legality thing that they can't do that. But
the point I'm getting at is there's all this money. How do you tap into that? And hopefully that's what we're going to talk about.
That is what we're going to talk about. Yeah. So Haley, thank you so much for joining. Now, guys, Haley's going to have your answers for the numbers. She already chimed in. There's $27 trillion in American retirement accounts. Only 3% of that is self-directed, right? And she says only 3% of that. But what is 3% of 27 trillion? Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. It's more than... That's $810 million, right? Is that right? Did I do trillion right? No, I didn't. I skipped the billion. Anyway, so it'd be $810 billion? Yes, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money, guys.
This is an informational show, not a math show. If you want math, go.
And for the record, we're not licensed in any way. We are not your attorney. We are not your CPA. We're not giving financial advice. I am speaking to you as an investor who has helped other investors find out how to fund their deals through this private capital source, right? So what we're going to talk about today is A, how do you talk to somebody who has an IRA and you want to get their money from them? And B, you know, well, actually, A, that's all that matters. Everything else is a subset.
I mean, but I think there's a lot of there should be a lot of similarities between talking to somebody like a private capital partner and an IRA person. But the only difference is, I would assume the IRA person, you know, again, assumption is a huge word, is maybe a little bit more passive than the not the hard money, but the private capital guy that's always looking for the deal at the next networking event.
And I think passive is the word that I want to shoot with to start off with, right? So good job teeing that one up. Because look, guys, this is going to be your main resource, or I'm sorry, your main, what's the word I'm looking for? Like pitch, your main
strategy.
Not necessarily strategy, but the thing that they're going to be most attracted by, right? The thing that the IRA holder is going to be most attracted by is going to be the passivity of this investment. The fact that they truly get to have mailbox money.
The easiness of it.
Right. This is you, the person watching this Grant Teach Me Something episode, are the one who has dedicated hours of their days to figuring out how to do real estate. We don't need our IRA holder to know everything about real estate. What we want to do is we want to provide them a service. And that service is that we are giving them a return on their capital that cannot be beat by other means.
Well, and not just other means, but like one of the things that Nate likes to point out is the fact that there was one IRA that invested in a horse semen company.
Yeah.
And you're like, Quest IRA, who's so heavily tied to the real estate industry, or Quest Trust, excuse me, so tied to the real estate that one of their IRAs chose a horse
semen.
That
stuff is... it's
potent.
Yeah. It's potent. Why do you know that?
Anyway,
that's not a factoid I need you to tell me.
I think the point we're trying to make, though, is you want to make it
really sweet.
It's got to be competitive in both easiness. I'm trying to get on the rails here, people. It's got to be competitive on the easiness of it and the rate of return on it. Right. So if you can promise easy, safe. I know nobody likes the word guaranteed, but you know, like really set them at ease that, hey, by the way, you're going to get your money back. I can't guarantee anything.
Sure, of course. We're never going to guarantee anything.
Yeah.
And that's a big part of any time. If you've watched this for any period of time, you know that I'm huge on don't guarantee anything that you can't guarantee. Don't promise something you can't promise. But you need to go to these events, right? Quest IRA actually has one tonight. Haley, if you want to promote that here and put a link or something. Quest is doing an event here in DFW tonight, but they do events all over the place. And if you're not in Texas, because I think Quest is mainly Texas, right? Are they in other states?
They're expanding. I know they're trying to be in Phoenix. Subtle plug. Phoenix will be there February 6th, 7th, 8th.
Yeah, I'll be speaking there too. Yeah, looking forward to that. So if you're in another state that Quest isn't in, right? First and foremost, check out, see if Quest is there. If not, just look for whoever your IRA custodians are and see which ones are doing these types of events, because you need to show up to those. You need to be there. You need to be that person who can provide this service for people, because here's the thing. When I'm talking to private capital, just like you talked about earlier, we are not asking a private capital person to fund our deal. We are offering to give them a return on their capital. Right. This is a golden nugget right here.
Yeah, that's the nugget. Where's my signal to
our golden nugget signal?
That's our hand gesture.
We are not asking for money. We are offering to give somebody a return on their capital.
And then that reminds me, and this is me a small tangent to one of your negotiating strategies when dealing with people trying to buy a house, and that's and I think it's yours. It's either yours or Jason Riney's. 70% sure it's yours, which is I only have a certain amount of money each month to buy a house.
Right.
You want me to buy your house, or you want me to go buy the next guy's house? You know, something like that.
I love that strategy.
So it's the same thing here, which is like I'm giving you the opportunity to do business with me versus I need money for my house.
Exactly. It changes the whole course of the conversation. So when I'm having a conversation with a private money lender or a potential private money lender, it comes very simple. You know, here's the thing: is that we forget oftentimes. We focus so much on our negotiations, and I'm glad that you brought that up on the negotiating with a house, and basically what we're using there is called scarcity principle. That is a negotiation technique. It's the same reason why you see any commercial that says "act now" or supplies are limited or any of that kind of. It's called scarcity principle. People
going out of business is the business,
right? Yeah, there's one that does that with furniture. Anyway, scarcity principle is a huge motivator because people want to get in before it's gone. We're gonna deploy that principle in our negotiations, both with properties. But here's the other silver nugget of we are
gold flake.
Gold flake. That's right. Too many times, the real estate investor watching this show has focused so much time and effort on understanding how to negotiate a real estate transaction. And then all of those negotiation techniques they throw out the window whenever they're talking to somebody about private money.
I think it goes back to being nervous. It goes back to maybe our education system, not to go on a huge tangent, but we don't really talk about the things that matter, like taxes and money.
Right, yeah.
So, not to get political.
So using those same techniques is so important because that's all that's happening is you're still negotiating. Now, a good negotiator, it's very natural, and you're just kind of going back and forth, and you're trying to go for what you want. But here's the thing, is that what you are offering to the person, when I open any conversation with a new contact at a IRA event, at a RIA, at the February 7th, 8th, and 9th event in Phoenix, Arizona, anytime that you're going to be talking to somebody, the first thing that I'm going to ask them is I'm going to say, okay, cool. Well, so, what is it that you're trying to leverage? Are you trying to leverage your time, your money, or your expertise? Mm-hmm. Right? I love that intro question because no matter what their answer to that question is, we have a way to work with them. If they've got time, they're a great bird dog. If they've got money, then they're a great lender. If they got expertise, they're a possible JV partner. And
then one more question you could throw on people, which will, if you do at your next networking event, you'll just see their brain break, which is, how can I help you?
Yeah.
What can I do today to help your business? Mm-hmm. And you'll be surprised to see their face just go from like, everybody's got that networking front where they're in, they're like, yeah, I'm going to find this, I'm going to find that. But the first time somebody asks you, what do you want? What can I do for you? They're like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Because no one ever asks them.
Yep.
Because they're too busy, putting it out there.
You want to know something funny? Is that question, at its core, is why we're here today. Because I came in and I did an interview with Daniel when the studio was way different, and it was one of the first videos that he had done, and we did this little interview, just me and him. We went to lunch afterwards. I said, how can I help you? And it started a conversation. And you know what that conversation turned into? The Propelio Academy. And Grant Teach Me Something. And all of this stuff, right? These massive things. And hiring Ryan. Yeah, Ryan was a contact that Ryan and I had worked together, and Daniel needed somebody. And I said, look, Ryan has great skills, right? Let's connect these two dots for y'all to get and it's blown up. So you never know what's going to happen from how can I help you? That's a great question.
That's a relevant tangent.
It's a relevant tangent. So getting back to my intro question of what is it that you're trying to leverage? Is it time, money, or knowledge? A lot of times they're gonna say, if they're a money person, well, I've got some money in my IRA account. I'm just trying to look for a way to do some deals with it, right? When we're going to these REI clubs, everybody that's there is trying to do real estate for the most part, right?
And they're all full of crap.
99% of them. And so they're trying to do real estate. And so if, Sonia, Ryan has a very special set of skills. I will find you and I will make your company bigger.
Nice.
So if they say like, look, I've got some money in an IRA, I'm just trying to place, most of the time they're at these events because they're trying to learn how to place this capital for their own portfolio, right? But the thing is that we oftentimes forget to appreciate our skills and what they can do to help somebody else. To the whole, how can I help you? Well, we have a special set of skills in buying real estate. We have a special skill in knowing how that real estate works. We have already been doing this. This person that comes to the meeting because they've got some money in an IRA and they want to figure out how to place it has not spent the last year and a half of their life trying to figure out how to do real estate. That is a prime candidate for you to start a relationship as a private money lender with that person. Mm-hmm. Your response to them can say, look, here's the thing. I do real estate. I find the deals. I'm already in it. I'm already knee deep. I've got all the leads. And no matter how much money you have, I always say, no matter how much money you have, you're going to spend it in real estate. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars, right?
Or it could be $10,000.
Right.
It could be 10,000, it could be 10 million. There's always a place for your. One thing I'd like to add to what you're just saying is you'd be surprised talking to people who has money.
Oh yeah.
And not just who has money, like, oh, I'm Will Crozier and I got, diamond-plated socks. But, there's people that are in your network, and I'm not going to name drop people, but I was at a networking feed the other day that known these people for a year, going to events and this and that, and like, yeah, I mean, this real estate, really looking to do it, really looking forward to it. They have 50 grand sitting in an IRA. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, well, why don't you place? Oh, I don't want to lose it. And it's just like, and your light bulb goes off going, you could be in real estate now. Mm-hmm. As a passive earner, right. And you could actually be doing real estate now with that money. So you never know who in your network, and it may be the most obvious person that has mm-hmm. it, and it may be the most person that you thought would have already known to place it.
Well, and because that goes both ways too, because one of the things that people from the outside see the luxury cars and the nice dressed folks. You know who has the money? It's the guy that's in the Payless shoes. It's the guy that's walking through super humble and mine are not Payless. I don't have any money. These are
Payless is one above.
Right. It's so be respectful just to everybody, not because it can be something for you, but because it can be for something for you, right? Be respectful just as a general rule, but understand you might be talking to somebody you have no clue. For example, I was at a Propelio event, right? And there was this guy walking by, super down dressed, just, he wasn't fancy by any means, super humble, very soft spoken, whatever. And I if you've ever seen me in an event, I grab people. I'm like, you will talk to me now. And I start talking to this guy. Well, turns out he has tens of millions of dollars in fund ready to deploy. And he's just literally just walking around with his hands behind his back, just checking people out and being super nice. And and the way that I've come to find this, he's talking about he does senior living homes.
Mm-hmm.
He starts talking about senior living. I'm like, oh yeah, man, you should talk to because at the time Daniel and Ryan were talking about doing some senior living, converting some buildings over into senior living. And it's yeah, they're talking about converting this building over into a senior living center. And he's so nice about it. He's like, oh yeah, okay, well that's really nice. That's awesome for them. Our last unit was a $20 million unit, and we're oh, okay, this is a different level. Point being, talk to people, see what they've got going on. The person who's there, getting back to the original point of the person who's there that says, hey, I've got some money in an IRA, I'm trying to learn how to learn how to do real estate. Your job is to educate them, right? To Ryan's point, is to start letting them know, because you will be surprised how often the people that have cash in these accounts don't understand that they can do anything with it. They don't understand that they can do lending with it. They only know that it's there and they want to put it into real estate.
I do want to add, when you're talking to people, and this is just a very quick one, mm-hmm. make sure you're listening. Make sure you're picking up on cues. Because that guy could have done a throwaway, yeah, I did a 20 million this and that. And if you're not paying attention and you're too focused on the next thing that you were trying to say to sell them on something, you may have missed out the fact that, oh, I need to really change my entire dialogue. Mm-hmm. So make sure you're actively listening when you're in these conversations. Be there, be present.
Absolutely.
Because that's my my pretentious saying for the day.
Yeah. Because listening is so important to be able to shape, because there's there's a difference between hearing and listening, right? And you can hear.
Tell me more.
Because you can hear somebody say something,
right,
but you're not listening to what they're trying to say. You can hear somebody say, yeah, I've got some money in my IRA account, and I'm trying to find a way that I can buy some houses. If you're listening, what they've just told you is, I have money that I don't know what to do with.
Right.
Right? And your response can be, well, look, here's the thing. I'm in real estate. We've got deals. You're trying to figure out how to do this stuff, and I'm already doing it. And so how about we find a way to work together? And so that next segue is when they say that, I'm going to say, oh, well, there you go. That's how I'm going to be able to help you.
Yeah, and then you can educate them, because at this point in time, you don't know how much they have, and you don't want to come off as the used car salesman trying to get every penny out of them.
Sure.
But you can come at them with the Daniel's three-pronged approach, which is I've got my low, my medium, and my high. It's like, hey, if you're getting started, well, you can start off with a second or third lien position on a project. If you want to do a little bit more, you can do JVs on a project. And if you want to go full out, you could fund the entire deal. It just depends on where you want to start.
Right.
And depending on where you are in this business, I can educate you on all of them or one of them, whatever you're interested in.
And that's a great segue into the next part of this conversation, where they tell you, hey, I've got this money, because they're not going to tell you how much they have. And the funny thing is the ones that are like, oh, I've got a significant amount of money in my IRA account, they've probably got $70,000 to $100,000. They think it's significant, which, you know what, having $70,000 to $100,000 is a lot of money, but in real estate, it's really not, right?
And you know what's funny about that? And I'm sorry to interrupt, but it's like, you just said something so true. It's like, I have a significant amount of money. It's 70 to 100. But then you've been in this business a lot, and then you talk to people, and they're like, yeah, I don't really have that much. And it's like, well, how much do you have? It's only about 1.2 million.
Right?
Because I think it's the perception, like, because if you only have 70 to 100 only, that's still a lot. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
But if you have 70 to 100, maybe you're playing in the part of the game, part of the stadium that's a small stadium. But once you're talking about millions of dollars, you're in a different league.
Right.
And in that league, you've got billionaires. So to a billionaire, 1.2 million is small potatoes.
Right. That's very true. Yeah. So don't pay attention too much to how much when they say that. But you're going to say, again, oh, that's where I'm going to be able to help you. That's how we're going to be able to work together. Is that I'm already in this business. I'm doing these deals. You've got capital to place. Notice how I said capital, right? When we're talking to somebody with an IRA, it's not their money. Because what does money buy?
Shoes that pay less?
Shoes that pay less. Money buys groceries. Money pays for rent. Capital invests in businesses. Here's my second golden nugget for you of the day. When we are discussing money with our lenders, we are talking about capital, not money. Because capital gets invested in business. Now we are removing their emotion from this dollar, right? This dollar is now an object. This dollar is no longer something that can be used to pay for their vacation as money, right?
And again, I think that's a huge distinction, because if you've ever worked for somebody or work with somebody who looks at all the money is on the kitchen table, and it's money in the business. Well, if I put this $10 towards a Facebook ad, that's a Happy Meal, and I'm not buying my kid. So if it's capital, you can't buy a Happy Meal for your kid with capital. So I think that's a huge distinction. And then, as an entrepreneur, whatever business you're doing, you need to remember that the money that you're capitalizing business and whatever you're trying to pursue needs to be completely separate from the piggy bank that you use to have life. Is that a good way of saying that?
Yeah, for sure.
So I'm trying to be more pretentious on these shows.
So you got to think about things in those terms. So you ask them, how much capital do you have to place? That is a very early on question that we ask. This goes to Ryan's point. Don't be nervous. Because nerves show, right? The bold question gets a bold answer. The more confident you are in these questions, the more ease they have in answering them for you. If you ask somebody, and this goes back to negotiation tips that you've seen me talk about with like buying subject to, right? If I'm buying a house subject to, or any house really, honestly, one of the very first intake form questions that we have is, what do you owe on your house? And what is the interest rate, right? If you ask that because that's part of your business, people answer it. But if you say, hey, just so I know you've got a mortgage on it, how much are you, do you know how much you have left on the mortgage? You have a much higher chance of them being like, I'm not really comfortable saying that. But if you just ask them, so how much do you owe on it? They tell you, well, I think I owe about whatever. So in the same way, when we're talking to somebody at these events that has possible money in an IRA or a retirement fund or whatever that we're going to be able to use, we're going to say, so how much capital do you have to place? And most of the time, they'll give you a real answer. Most of the time, they'll be like, well, I've got $50,000 or $70,000, or I've got $500,000. What you'll find is that this is kind of the litmus test. When they have a lot of money, they won't tell you. When they have a lot of money, they're typically going to say like, oh, we've got, we've got a few $100,000 that we can spend on this, or, or they'll say something along the lines of, it depends on the project. It depends on the project means, yeah, I can fund whatever. I'm just going to be discerning about it, right? So you ask them, how much capital do you have to place? And then when they tell you the number, you have a tree that you need to go down to negotiate your way into getting that capital. And that's what we're going to talk about on the other side of this break. We're going to talk about when they tell you how much capital they have, how do you decide which road you want to lead them down. So stay tuned. When we get back, we're going to tell you exactly how to figure out which road to go down with how much capital somebody has to place. All right, guys, so welcome back. So now what we're going to be talking about on this section is we're going to talk about, now that we've discussed the initial conversation with somebody who might have capital, we're going to talk a little bit more about what we can do with that capital once they tell us the dollar amount that they have. And then we're going to lead into a little bit more of the IRA specific technicalities of, okay, we've discovered this person has money. Either it's in an IRA or we need to help them get it to an IRA. And that's a very important distinction there. And then once it's in the IRA, from the technical standpoint, what are we going to do to make this deal work? But before we get into that, we do want to address some comments. We want to address some questions. Guys, as always, please, 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 if you're watching, even on a replay, ask the questions. This is we take a lot of time out of our days to make sure that we're making sure that you have the tools that you need to become successful. And part of that is asking us the questions that you have. We want to know what it is that you need to know in your walk of life to get there. As a case in point, this is actually a viewer topic. What we're talking about today was asked to me by Arthur Martinez, who is an awesome guy out of Fort Worth. I trained him how to do this business through Creative Cash Flow, through our academy years ago, and now this is his full-time gig. And this is one of his questions. Is he came to me after last week's Grant Teach Me Something, and he said, "Hey man, would you mind doing a segment on how to use people's IRAs?" I said, "That's a great topic. Let's talk about that next week." And so if you have topics that you want to know about, message me, let me know about it. If you have questions about a specific topic, please comment in the comments. We're watching them right now on both YouTube, Facebook, and we'll be watching them over time and coming back and replying. So let's jump right in. It looks like we've got a question from Haley.
Well, it's not a question, it's more of a comment, because we were talking about the money issue. Haley saying, it's crazy how many people we talk to that say, oh, I don't really have that much to work with, but they have around 50 to 100,000, which is definitely enough to do something with.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it absolutely is.
This one is a question from Sonia. Will you go over how to structure the paperwork and what kind of paperwork they will need to use to security it? I would say this, unless you have a better answer. What I would say is watch the Quest shows on Friday, reach out to Sonia, because you really want to get...
Reach out to Haley, not Sonia. Sonia's the question.
Sonia, reach out to Sonia. No, Sonia, reach out to Haley. She's in the comment section right now, just jumping in, and she can very much better answer that. Or Haley, if you can address that question, that'd be great.
Well,
but
and
what
actually,
would you say?
That's going to be our third segment. So when I was talking about that we're going to get into the technicalities of more, that's what I mean, is that we will talk a little bit about what you need to know as the investor to help this person go through. Obviously, Haley's going to be your best resource for like the real deep down questions, but I'm going to tell you what I know, which isn't everything about IRAs, but it is. I don't know if I mentioned this, all but one of my deals have been funded from somebody's IRA. We know how to use IRAs for private money from our standpoint. I don't know all the background, but I know what I need to tell a private lender, and I know how to coordinate these situations to make this easy on them so that we can use their capital. So we're absolutely going to address that in our last segment, okay? So we started out talking about how do we start this conversation with somebody. Now we're going to talk about, now that we've created that conversation, now that we've created that dialogue with them, how do we take this to the next level? We've asked our wonderful question, which I'm not talking about the other two today, right? Our wonderful question of, what is it that you're trying to leverage? Are you trying to leverage time, money, or I'm sorry, time, capital, or knowledge, right? and we get our answer, we're only talking about capital here. But guys, that's a huge nugget of a question right there, because I can tell you, I've been in masterminds with guys that are doing millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars per year in business, and when I bring that question up, I see all of their heads go down and write it, right? That is a question you need to use. So we're only talking about this. We'll talk about those other ones in other shows. So now that we've established that, they say, hey, well, I've got some money, I'm trying to get into real estate. We say, okay, well, that's how we're going to be able to work together. I'm in real estate. I'm already doing what you're trying to do. Now what we've done is we've provided social proof to a certain degree. That's another negotiation tactic, is we're showing them, hey, the thing that you want to do, I'm already there. Another big part of, and I'm going to peel back the curtain here, because we're all about giving you real insight and real information. A huge part of a great social marketing strategy is positioning yourself as the guide and not as the hero. Too many people come into the negotiation as, I'm the dude. I'm the dude who's going to get everything done, and you should be happy to work with me, right? That's not the right approach. What we're talking about this entire conversation is, hey, we're going to be able to provide the returns to you and place your capital. We never ask them to lend us money. We tell them that we can place their capital, right? We're full of golden flakes here. We're full of golden nuggets here.
And think about it psychologically, it's a completely different tactic, because one is, I need you.
Right.
One is guiding them.
Right, exactly. We are going to get them where they want to go. We are going to place their capital. We are not asking them to lend us money, which also helps, by the way, in the way of paying points, paying down payments, getting 100% LTC versus 80% LTC, getting 80 to 82% LTV versus 70% LTV, because when somebody is lending you money, now we're talking about lending terms. When you are placing their capital, you are doing a favor as managing their fund for them. We're not going to say we're managing their fund. We need to be careful on that. But we can tell them we're going to place their capital. That's the conversation, right? So when we say, well, I can help you by placing your capital, because I'm already the one doing the real estate, we've positioned ourselves as the guide. Heroes are weak. Heroes are weak.
I think that's the quote for the day right there.
Because
heroes are weak.
The hero, think about any hero, okay?
Achilles.
So think about a hero. What's like a popular movie? Let's talk about a pop culture movie. Like, what's a pop movie with like a star?
John Wick.
John Wick. Well, John Wick, that's a little, who would be John Wick's guide? I can't think of who John Wick's guide, that might be. So I'm going to use a pre-canned one, because it's the one that I used previously before, and I'm not smart enough to think of who John Wick's guide is. There is a guide in there somewhere. Anyway, so let's talk about Star Wars, because that's the one that I'm going to steal from the book that I got this from. The hero is Luke Skywalker, right? That's the hero of the story. But the hero is weak. The hero is broken. The hero is unable to accomplish the goals that the hero needs to accomplish for this storyboard to work, right? Without his guide, he's nothing. Without Yoda showing him what needs to happen, he's nothing. Well, who's Yoda? Yoda's the baller that's never had a problem and can get anything done with no problem, right?
Right.
When he approaches Yoda, Yoda does not talk about how long Yoda studied to be a master of the Force. Yoda does not talk about how long he's been in the Force. Yoda does not talk about how awesome he is and how much Luke needs him. Yoda's just a baller that Luke obviously needs to get where he needs to go, right? We're not the hero. Katniss Evergreen, she's not the hero. Is it Evergreen? I don't know what it is. Everdeen? I don't know. She's the hero, but she's weak and broken, and she cannot do anything without the all right guy helping her out. Isn't that him? Isn't he the actor that does that? No,
he's not even in that movie.
Oh, I thought that was the guy.
Woody Harrelson.
That's right. Yeah. Woody Harrelson is the guide. She couldn't do anything if Woody Harrelson was not there to help her.
We do real estate, not movies.
So Woody Harrelson has already been there, done that, right? This is huge, guys. I want you guys to really embrace what I'm saying, because now I'm not just talking about how to help you in your capital raising. I'm talking about how to help you in your marketing and how to help you buy houses. Because the guide is the one who's been there, done that, and very clearly is going to help the hero get where they need to go. So my big hashtag that I put on, our marketing meetings, and, for Trusted World was the charity that I support wholeheartedly. You guys should check out trustedworld.org. I was there, what is the marketing officer or whatever, for CMO for a while, getting things going. And as I was pushing to the team, our phrase was always be the Yoda. Be the Yoda, right? We are not the hero, we are the guide. So we are going to place their capital for them. When they say, I want to get into real estate, they're the hero, right? We are going to say, I've been there, done that. I'm already in real estate. And I can help place your capital and get you the results that you are hoping for because I'm your guide and I'm the one who's going to be able to provide for you.
That's really interesting. And I wonder, though, if they're, and you're probably like, well, no crap, Ryan, that's the next segment. But I wonder if there's a tie-in to, again, talking and negotiating with the sellers and let them be the hero of their own story. So if I'm talking to private capital and I'm trying to get their capital, even though they want to be as passive as hell and they just want money and they don't want to touch it, at their core, everybody wants to be their own hero.
Absolutely.
So I wonder if those are just two different thought processes or if there's a well thought out to go, yeah, everybody's their hero, and again, it's the same thing with private capital.
Well, no, that is absolutely it.
Did I mumble or
no? That's right. That's absolutely it. And so, again, a relevant tangent. We'll go on a little bit of a tangent here because it's very relevant to any negotiation, but especially with private capital, but with house buying, with your marketing letters that you spend, and hell, this is how you get to build interpersonal relationships, right? Talk about the again. Propelio Academy. Now, by no means, please do not interpret it. This is me taking credit for Propelio Academy because this is not what I'm saying. But me being the guide and saying, how can I help you at our meeting, having burgers after that interview, spawned something huge, right? Because we were able to work together. I was able to provide value to Propelio provide immense value back, and we grew something from there because I was being the guide at that point in time, right? Helping somebody else with something that we had. The bigger picture here of exactly what you're saying, here's the bigger phrase of it. Everyone wakes up the protagonist of their own story. Now I'm directly ripping all of this stuff, by the way, from a guy named something. He has a book named Creating a Story Brand, which again, I've hesitated to tell you guys about because I very much ascribe to this, and then you're going to be like, oh, well, now he's just doing that technique or that technique. Guys, everything is a technique always, and you should be employing those techniques as well. Gosh, I can't remember his name, but Building a Story Brand, phenomenal book. The spiel is, everyone wakes up the protagonist of their own story. You did not wake up this morning saying, man, I wonder what's weighing hard on Grant's heart today.
I did.
Thank you. I know you did, actually. That's one of the great things that makes you such a good person, honestly, and I mean that from my heart. You are a special case because you do truly care about other people that try to get.
I woke up at 6 a.m. crying.
Shut up.
I was in the office by 8 a.m. and that's rare.
Yeah.
And by rare I mean the first time ever. So anyway.
So everyone wakes up the protagonist of their own story, right? With the exception of the Marvel movies, but even the Marvel movies, there's a hero. I would argue that Tony Stark is the hero of a lot of these Avenger movies, and then they've transitioned that into being Captain America because what's the Tony Stark actor? What's his name?
Downey.
Robert Downey Jr. We all know his contract was ending and back. So you've seen them. If you know behind the scenes, it's going to ruin movies and stories for you. I'm sorry. But we've seen Tony Stark was kind of the center point of these Avenger movies. We know his contract is ending. Well, all of a sudden now Captain America is really the hero. All these other guys, there's room for one real hero in every story. So if everyone wakes up the protagonist of their own story and you walk in trying to be the hero, they will shoot accolades at you left, right, and center. You will feel awesome because they will talk about how amazing you are, but they're not going to work with you because there's not room for two heroes in a story. There's room for one hero, and that hero is the person you're talking to.
But there also is room for a guide.
But there's always room for that guide. And so we're going to be that guide. So I can place that capital for you. Let's move on to the next part. And I think we've spent a good section there. Guys, please internalize that. You have no idea the massive amount of change that can do to your negotiations if you internalize what I just told you. So we can place your capital.
Real quick, just to summarize, be the Yoda, and the big one is the capital, using just simple words of, let me place your capital. Let me help you place capital.
Right.
And be the guy
That's
to place
how
your
we
capital.
can work together. I can place your capital for you
Versus,
because
"Lend me your
I'm already
money."
in the business, right?
Right.
This is where we position ourselves as the Yoda who already knows how to do
Yeah.
the force.
It's
I
huge.
already do this. I've been in the business. I've got leads. That's the thing that you're having trouble, because what's the thing that everybody has trouble with in real estate? Finding a lead, getting the deal, right? These guys that have the money are just now starting their journey to try and do all of that. We've already done it. So please leverage my experience to give you the results that you're looking for. And what we can tell them is that, look, most of the time, you're going to be able to get the results that you're looking for with your capital without ever having to do all of this other business.
And another way to look at it is, and again, forgive me if I keep tying it back to the seller side, but think of it in terms of if somebody's selling their house, how many postcards do they get? How much noise do they get sent at their face? And what do you have to do?
Did you just say how much noise do they get sent at their face?
Oh, shut up. You know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
But like the noise that they're having to go through to find you for you to buy the house. Now, think in terms of somebody at an IRA, like at a Quest event, and I've got $50,000 to $100,000, or I got $10 million. It doesn't matter. But how many people are there? It's the same thing. It's just on the reverse.
Right.
But instead of postcards, it's, hey, here's my business card. Give me your money. Hey, here's my business card. Give me money. And what are you going to do to differentiate yourself from the next guy or gal that's like, hey, give me your money. I want to buy your house. You know,
is
that kind of
you're
thing.
going to help them, right?
Right.
So we say, how much capital do you have to place? And they're going to give you an answer. And now is where we get to that kind of tree of two choices. They are either going to, and I'm going to put it in this way because we have a national audience, they are either going to have enough to handle an entire deal for you, or they're not, okay? That's where I'm going to draw the line. Either, like here in DFW, if you've got 150 plus, that's enough to take down an entire deal. If you don't, it's probably really not, okay? There's a lot of people, like Haley mentioned, there's a lot of $50,000 to $100,000 IRA accounts out there. If you get an answer that's in that range or lower, your response to them, and we'll start with the lower and then we'll go to the higher, your response to them is going to be like, oh, wow, that's awesome. And you give them the respect for the amount of money that it takes, you know, the amount of effort that it takes to have that much money there. But here's where being kind of, how do you, I'm trying to think of
arrogant.
Like, yeah, exactly. I was gonna say, like, what is the like hashtag that we need for this? Be the nice asshole, right? Like, you can be a nice jerk at the same time. Arrogant is a good word for that. And saying, oh, that is awesome. That is a great amount of money. And here's what I say. And I'm a confident jerk when I say this, but it's just kind of getting straight to the point, and it helps with our negotiations, in which I'm gonna be like, look, that's a ton of money. It really is, and I totally respect that. But in real estate, that's really not that much money, honestly, because it's really hard to take down a deal with the acquisition and the rehab and fit that into $70,000. However, because I'm in this business as deep as I am, I do still have ways that we can place that capital for you and get you a good return on that. And the way that we're going to do that is, I find deals all the time where they're $10,000 behind on their payments and I need $30,000 to do the rehab on their house. And I can take over on their payments subject to, I don't know if you're familiar with that or not, but we can talk about that later. But essentially, I can take over on their payments. I need the capital to catch them up, and I need the capital to do the rehab. $70,000 is the perfect amount for that. So that's how we'll be able to work together. Next time I find one of these deals, would you be interested in being the guy that I talk to about providing the money to catch them up and providing the capital to catch them up and do the rehab?
Now, in a situation like that, this is a relevant side thing, but it is relevant. That is obviously going to...
Sorry.
My words.
Sorry, I got to interrupt. Jeremiah, I love it. I think that you've coined it right there, the nice hole. Wait, no, that could probably, don't Google that. Let's rewind. Let's go back to Ryan. Okay, finish your thought. Save me. Save me, Ryan. You're my only hope.
I don't know what I was saying.
Be my guide.
Guide me out
of this nice hole I just dug myself.
Completely. I don't know. What was I talking about? What was I going to say? What were the words I was saying?
I don't know. I was reading nice hole.
That is why live shows are awesome.
Okay.
And if you drop comments and questions, please keep it relevant to the topic.
Hey, look at that. Be the guide. Be the guide. I love that. No,
what I was going to say was, but the problem is
be the Yoda.
but What's that?
It's supposed to be the Yoda, but we'll be the guide.
Yeah, but
And
that's like,
Yoda.
but it's a delay anyway.
Oh,
They already saw it like 20 minutes ago. No, what I was talking about is in a situation like that, that's obviously going to be a second lien or a third lien position.
Yes.
At that, because I'm not sure what is being told or what they know. Like, how do you enter that conversation and be like, oh, by the way, because it's sub 2, this is first. They have the first lien position.
Yeah.
This is going to be a second or even a third lien position.
That's a great
Especially
question
with
to get in the
IRAs, because I know a
negotiation.
lot of IRA people may not, be all. I don't know what the word is there. They're not going to be like super psyched to have a second lien position
Right.
because of the risk.
Right, exactly. Well, and one of the key parts of this part of the negotiation is that not only are they going to not necessarily be super psyched about second lien, but they may not know what second lien is. And
Right.
part of our ethics, part of our understanding of how to do this is that we are going to educate them, right? I said this earlier. Part of our negotiation is education, right? So that's how we're going to get. So I think that that's a really good question to get to on the other side of the break. Let's take another break. Then we're going to address how do we introduce the second lien position to them. We'll talk about that for a minute, and then we're going to talk about what happens when they do have enough to take down an entire deal. Okay. And once we talk about that, then we're going to finish up with questions. We're going to finish up with getting through all of the anything that you guys want to know about, and we're going to finish up with the technicalities of what you needed to go talk to your lender and talk to your IRA custodian about to technically get this deal done. So stick around.
And when we get back, you're going to see the graphic that Travion makes for #NiceHole. Just kidding. Hey, keep those questions coming. Subscribe to the channel. We'll be right back.
All right, and welcome back here. We love having you guys here. Hey guys, just a quick mention here. I'm Grant Kemp from CreativeCashFlow.com, where we help you buy more houses. CreativeCashFlow.com is, if you like this education, if you like what I'm doing here, please, go check out CreativeCashFlow.com. That's where I'm able to grow a larger relationship with the folks that are watching. Sonia Ray just signed up this last week. I really enjoyed having her on our live Q&A session. She's been a watcher of the show for a long time. We had our first live Q&A session with her this last Monday night. I do a live Q&A every Monday night where all of the members of Creative Cashflow get to just shoot whatever question. We'll talk about your deals. We'll talk about whatever's going on, and you get full access to my brain. Here's the big deal, is that Travion, wave to us, Travion, wonderful Travion over here, has finished our negotiation series. So we have a new module coming out to all of our Creative Cashflow members for how to really get it. If you like the negotiation tips I've given you during the show, it is but the tip of what goes into negotiating. I've put a large effort into negotiation. So that negotiation series module is going to be releasing, as well as an order of operations module on what order you need to do everything for each type of investing, as well as a road to retirement module on how to plan your retirement around investing in real estate. So please check that out, and just understand that right now the price is only $650. As soon as my tech guys get done building the pages to put those modules up, the price is going up to $897. As a member, it's a lifetime membership. So once you join, you get access to all of the content that's coming out. We just finished our studio a couple of weeks ago. We just started putting out new content. So all of this new content will be yours. You're a member right now. It'll join forever. So please check me out at CreativeCashFlow.com. And then none of this would be available to you if it was not for the efforts of Mr. Ryan Harper here and what Propelio.com is doing for you guys. So you want to tell us what Propelio does?
Stuff. No, I'm just kidding. Daniel, if he's watched, he'll be in the car, come up here murdering me. Propelio.com, what we really are, yes, we try to provide the best content we can, Propelio TV, try to change an industry with Propelio Academy with the help of Mr. Grant, I don't know your middle name, Kent.
Garrett.
Kemp.
Yeah, thanks for not knowing my name.
Anyway, Grant Garrett Kemp. Anyway, but that's what we do. That's all we do for the marketing side. Every time we do an event, every time we do see somebody in person, that's all to try to get notice and attention for our software. Our software is a three-pronged approach. It's basically leads, comps, and websites. So, what are the things that you need most as a investor? You need access to off-market leads. We are looking to become a national lead provider. So if you're not currently a subscriber of Propelio, make sure you drop an email and be like, hey, I want to know about the national lead list when it comes available. If you need access to comps, if we're in your market, bam, Propelio.com, easy access to comps. We have a lot of realtors that use our service just because it's much easier and quicker to pull comps on a Propelio versus whatever MLS you use. Because MLS, let's face it, Realtor.com, those guys, they love that 1987 technology.
Dude, I let my MLS access lapse because
Yeah.
I only use Propelio anymore.
But I mean, it's just
So much nicer.
it's a faster, softer. It's faster and just quicker use to pull comps there. And then obviously websites. If you need an investor-friendly website, if you think about it, if Grant and I are going to buy a house together or separately, and Grant is Grant at grantbuyshouse.com and Ryan is Ryan at hotmail.com. Who are you going to take more seriously?
Yeah.
You're going to take the person that has a domain, a branded domain, and a branded website over the guy that's like, I don't know, here's my Vistaprint card that says Vistaprint on it.
Right.
But, so those are the things. Websites, comps, and lead lists.
Yeah.
And we also do the events, but that's mainly just so we can introduce ourselves to you and you kind of come into our community.
Right. So we love being here with you guys, but please help us, and I'll just be as open and blatant as this. Support us, guys. I mean, this takes capital. This takes money for us to put all of this on for you, and it takes a lot of time. And so if you like what we're doing, not only are we going to continue helping you get better, but that's also a reward and encouragement to us when you do sign up for our CreativeCashFlow.com or for Propelio.com. That lets us know that you like what's happening and that you care.
And on that note, I just wrote an email to everybody that's associated with the Propelio TV, basically saying, hey, thank you so much for being a part of our project. And we've got we got our feet wet, we've got a good foundation, but it's time to step it up. So look for Propelio TV to only get better and better and better because, let's face it, if we don't strive, whether it be our software, our events, our TV, if we're not striving to be better, you're going to drown eventually.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
All right, so let's get back into the IRA side of things. So we are talking about, we've led up with how to create the conversation, how to guide that conversation, and then now we're talking about somebody that has $70,000-ish, $100,000, which may or may not be enough to buy and fund and rehab an entire property in your market, and what we do with them. So the position that we're going to take with somebody that has 50, 60, 70-ish thousand bucks is, hey, that's great. I'm glad that you have that. That's a lot of money. And the way that I always put it is that's a lot of money when you're signing on a check, but it's not a lot of money when it comes to real estate, right? That's kind of how I separate money from capital. And so I tell them, like, the whole spiel I said before the break about how, I find these houses that might need to. So your question was, and we've had a question here about like, well, yeah, but that second lien position. And here's the thing is that I know from experience, a lot of people don't even know, because the guys that are really our prime candidate for this lender, to be this private lender for us, really don't understand much of anything. They just have the money and they want it to make money, right? So we need to educate them that they are taking a second lien position. Now, I never go into a subject to appointment and the very first thing I say is, hey, you want to let me take over on your payments? And that way, like, if I make the payments, that's great and everything's fine. If I don't and a foreclosure occurs, it's just going to be on your record. I won't be affected at all, but I'll make all the money from the sale on the back end.
I learned that in episode 2.
That's the very first thing that we say, right? No, absolutely not. You have to guide these people. You have to use a term that I'm going to steal from Robert Cialdini called persuasion. You have to set things up and let them kind of hit some mile markers along the road before they really understand everything that goes into it. You can't just up and give them all of the risks right up front. You have to guide them through this conversation. You have to be the Yoda. You have to let them understand what's going to happen in terms that make sense with their current understanding of the transaction. So if we look at their current understanding of the transaction, their current understanding is, I have money, okay? Next mile marker is, oh, I can actually lend this money and make money off of it. The next mile marker is, oh, I don't have enough money to do a full deal. Next mile marker is, oh, there's still an answer to that. They can help me by making this as a rehab loan. I've heard of rehab loans before. Next mile marker is, oh, a rehab loan is actually in a second lien position, which is there's my risk. We need to get yeses to every mile marker before we start moving on to that next mile marker, right? We need to make sure that they are understanding in order and basing their knowledge off of previous knowledge before we get them into.
Is a lot of that due to the fact that if you skip ahead, if they say no to it, there's not a foundation to build on to fight that no? To like,
right.
you know.
So here's the thing, is that mentally, if you look at the psychology of humans, when they say no, their brain is made up and they're done, okay? Because no is a commitment. No is a very powerful word, and I'm also referencing Never Split the Difference here. And if you haven't noticed here, read some books, guys. I've referenced like 5 in this one episode.
That's the other quote of the day.
Yeah,
read some books.
Read some books, guys.
Don't be a dummy.
So like Never Split the Difference talks about kind of the psychology of no, right? How the power of no, and we do want to give them the chance to say no because that no is so powerful. But no is so powerful that we do need to respect that power of the no. When they've decided no, and I don't want to get, I don't want to get into all the psychology behind this. I could do a whole episode on this, and hey, my negotiation series does on CreativeCashFlow.com. When they've said no, they're done. So we want to kind of give them all of the good stuff that's happening with this deal to convince them, hey, that's something I really want. And then they're weighing, well, do I want to say no to all the good? Rather than saying, do I want to renege on my no because of all the good, right? We're swapping the order here. We don't want to say, hey, would you be okay, like you've got 70 grand, would you be okay with taking a second lien position on that? And then going into, because I find these deals that I could place your capital and it's a rehab loan and blah, blah, blah,
and
blah,
is
blah.
this up to, and is this.
Because
and
then
that.
they're going to start with no, and then you have to really outweigh that no with positives for them to change their mind. In the meantime, what we're doing is we're starting with all the positives, and then that no would have to really outweigh all of the yeses that they get, right?
Well, to me, it'd be like every rung could have a no, but the rung before is like, oh, well, that makes sense. Oh, well, that makes sense. So if you have a lot of, instead of like yeses or whatever, it's just, oh, that makes sense.
Right.
Then it's a little bit easier.
Right, exactly. Reginald's Circle, is this off of YouTube, a YouTube comment?
No, this is Facebook.
Facebook. Reginald Circle, the yes, it's Reginald Circle, like I assumed that was the person. Oh, that's a person. Okay,
It is a
yeah.
person.
The yes ladder. If that's a reference to a book or something, I'd like to know. where that comes from. I like that phrase. The yes ladder.
Or it could be there.
If you just coined that, I'm going to give you credit. So let me know if you coined that as well.
Or I'll steal it right now.
So, and by the way, if you guys go tell people about all this stuff and you sound really smart, can I get some credit from that too? Can you say like, hey, I learned this from Grant Kemp? So we're gonna walk them down that road. Now, the last part of that is educating them, saying, look, if I'm buying this house sub 2, they're in first lien position. So doing this, I like using the word subordinate lien because second lien already has, like when you hear second lien, it already has a bunch of stuff tied to it. Subordinate lien does not already have a bunch of stuff tied to it. So when you say subordinate lien, it is technically true and it does not come with knowledge baggage, right? So whereas second lien comes with knowledge baggage. Second lien, people have always been afraid of second liens. They've never been taught to be afraid of subordinate liens. But we're going to say that would be a subordinate lien because I already have a loan in place. But that's why it's so important for you to really vet the person that you're going to be doing a deal like this with. And I'm telling them this. You need to be very careful of the person, of the human being that you're investing with. If you're going to do a second lien position or a subordinate lien position, you're investing in the human. You're investing in that person that you believe that they're going to perform. And I'll finish up real quick, if we have done our job to present ourselves as an authority in the ways that I've shown you how to do up to this point, they will say, this is the kind of guy I want to work with, right? And now you're telling them, hey, you just told me that you have 70 grand. I just told you a way to spend that, but now I'm going to make you really afraid of spending that with anybody but me. Okay? So that's that's how we wrap up our subordinate lien lending program with somebody that only has enough to do like a rehab loan.
So before we get to the real meat of this conversation, it sounds like a lot of this, when we're talking about the IRA money and using IRA private money, a lot of it is just semantics, like changing words from, hey, I'm looking for somebody to borrow money from, or I'm looking for a new lender, to I'm looking to place capital. And then what you just said there, instead of using words like second lien position, you're using words like subordinate lien. It's the same thing,
Right.
but it's just semantics of it that maybe trigger something in the brain that just doesn't confuse as much.
Exactly.
And then a lot of similarities of everything you talked about today, that's just basic negotiation
Right.
skills that you're applying to this situation.
Right. So the second lien side, what we've just talked about, is really the brunt of this whole conversation, because guys, when they have enough money for a full deal, that's easy, right? When they have 150, 200 plus, anything like that, you're just going to tell them, okay, excellent, that's great. So next, I run into these deals all the time. We'll be able to work with that with you. And then from that conversation, what I don't want to go into for the rest of this time, because I do want to spend the rest of our time specifically on the IRA, the rest of that conversation is purely a conversation on private money negotiations, right? And we might do another episode just purely on private money negotiations, which could take a whole episode there. I don't want to get too far into that, but essentially, and I'll give you the cliffhanger there of just, hey, at that point in time, it's just negotiating your terms and figuring out what you can pay somebody and getting those terms paid out, right? Now, let's go into the actual IRA side of things. When they say that they have capital to place, they either have capital in an IRA already or it's someplace else that needs to be converted into an IRA. What we're going to do is we're going to be the guide, we're going to be the Yoda, we're going to guide them and let them know that we have experience in this industry and that we are going to recommend that they talk to a Haley Gant over at Quest IRA.
Quest Trust.
Quest Trust, yes, I'm sorry. They just turned into a trust company, which is good, which is more.
That's my line.
Yeah, sorry. So we're going to guide them and say, look, we've worked with a lot of custodians. We've had good luck with some, bad luck with others. Haley over at Quest Trust Company does a great job of helping you place this capital and giving you really all of the implications from the tax side of what's going to happen. And our job there, guys, is only to connect the dots. Because this is why it's so important to have good references, is that we have to have custodians that we trust. We have to have attorneys that we trust, that when we give that recommendation, we know that that recommendation is not going to have a ball dropped. Because guys, and Haley, I hope that you understand how much we respect you when we're saying, hey, I'm going to hinge me getting deals done on you doing your job right. And she does. She takes that seriously. And she is going to be the person that's going to help them get all of the technicalities set up and all of that kind of stuff. All we need to know is that they are able, and we can tell them, they are able to take that money in their IRA and use it as a real estate secured loan, right? Either first lien, second lien, whatever. And we're going to tell them, hey, this is how it works. You need to get that money over into your IRA, or you need to convert your IRA into a self-directed account, again, which is just a marketing term, but it makes sense to everybody. Once that's done, then we can start working together to where when I find a deal, I will just approach you and let you know, hey, I've got a deal. This is how much I need to get that deal funded. And then we will be able to help you fill out what is called a direction of investment form. Okay, and that's the form that the IRA custodian is going to give them that tells them, basically what that form is called a direction of investment. That form is what they fill out to say, hey, I want to invest $80,000 with Grant LLC, and it's going to be secured by a note, right? Because that's really all it is it's a note investment as far as the IRA is concerned. It's going to be secured by a note. And I think you actually might have to say a note and a deed of trust, because there's a difference between an unsecured, that's what it is. It's an unsecured note versus a secured note. This is going to be a secured note investment, right? And so what I would recommend you do is on the first time that you're doing this, just offer, hey, I'll help you hold your hand, I'll help hold your hand, we'll fill this out together. What I tell my guys is, hey, get the direction of investment form from your IRA person. What we're going to need to know is we're going to need to know what vesting this account is going to be under, or how this account is going to be vested. And what that means is they're going to give you a phrase that says that the lender is really Quest Trust Company, FBO, and your account number, right? There's going to be a string like that we need to know, because that string is really who the lender is, because your IRA is actually the lender here, right? By the way, I skipped a step here in saying I like to have the initial conversation at that REI club meeting, saying, hey, this is what we can do and this is how we can help. Then take the person to lunch. Once you establish that they have the capital that they're really ready to place, I'm not going to necessarily push for, hey, the next day I can call this person and get a deal done. The next step is you take them to lunch, you get to know them more, rapport. I'm going to reference Daniel.
You have to be the guide.
You have to be their guide.
Yeah,
right, be their Yoda. I'm going to reference Daniel's live episode on Monday, and I love this phrase. I hadn't heard it before, but I love it. It's so true. Rapport buys more houses than cash ever does. And you can apply that same concept in many different ways. Rapport is going to be the big deal for you right here. So take them to lunch, take them to coffee, kind of discuss what your terms are going to be. Once you solidify your terms, that's when you're going to say, okay, our next step is this. I'm going to come to you with a deal. You'll need to get what's called a direction of investment form from your custodian. At that point in time, send that over to me, and I will fill everything out in that form that I am able to fill out for you. I'm going to send that back to you. You will finish filling that form out because it's going to need some personal information from you, right? Because some of that form is how much is the investment, what is it secured by. A lot of that is something you can fill out for them very easily. You send that back to them, they fill out the rest, and you tell them, I need to know what this vesting is. It's going to be something, Quest Trust Company, FBO, an account number. I need to know what that is because you need to send that to the attorney to get some doc prep done. Okay, so these are the steps that we're going to take. We're going to tell them, I need a deal, or I've got a deal, it's ready to be funded. I need to get the direction of investment form from you. They get the direction of investment form. You fill out everything you can, you send it back to them. Simultaneously, you're going to get a vesting number from them, an idea of what it needs to be, and then you're going to send that to, and I'm looking up an email address for you.
I was like, yeah.
I'm just texting my friends, my BFF. You're going to send that to your attorney. Now, I recommend using Matt Aycock's firm. Matt Aycock is a great attorney. He runs a large operation, very professional, gets things done quickly, gets things done accurately. And so who you want to send that to is a guy named Ted Gambardella, Gambordella, and his email address is tgambardella, Gambordella, at prattaycock.com, prattaycock.com, tgambardella at prattaycock.com. And you're going to send him all of the terms of the deal. You're going to say, I've got this address that needs a loan of this amount. He's lending it to me for 8%, 30-year amort, 5-year balloon, right? And this is the vesting. And you send them that number, that Quest Trust Company, FBO, whatever. You're going to send that to them. And you're going to tell them, I need the docs prepped for this closing, which is going to be, like in Texas, a note and deed of trust. In other states, it's going to be like a trust deed or a mortgage or whatever that is. And they will prep all of those docs for you. They may come back with another couple of questions, but they will prep all of those docs for you. Then they're going to send those documents back to you, right? At that point in time, you need to send those documents to your lender, to the actual human being, the person with that IRA account, and they need to sign on the documents a line that says read and approved by their signature. Okay, then they send those documents to Quest, to the custodian, because the custodian's job is not to look over the investment and tell you anything about the investment. The custodian's job is to tell you if it is legal or not. Okay, and the custodian needs to see that the IRA holder, the holder of the account, has read through the documents and is cool with them, because the IRA holder is the director of the account, I think is what they're called. I can't remember what the actual name of. Haley, if you're still watching, what is the name of the person that holds the account in this case? If you could chime in with that. But they're basically getting that approval, and then once that approval is done, Quest is going to take a look at those documents, and they can fund that deal in as low as 24 hours, now, sometimes same day.
Going back to the attorney, now is that like a template? Is it because I know, I'm just thinking in my head, attorneys, they cost money, they bill by the 15-minute mark. So even if it's just a copy paste that they don't even do, their assistants do, they're still going to bill me a half of a liver. Like how? And I know Quest can. What's the turnaround on that? Is it hey, just urgent to my attorney, make sure, hey, get off
Yeah,
the golf
so-
course and actually do this real quick?
No,
or?
and that's one of the reasons why I recommend out ACOX's firm is that they're on that crap. They get that crap done well and fast, and it's about $350 to get it drafted, right? And that gets charged on the HUD of the closing, right? Is where they get paid for that, right? So they are going to give you a I can't remember the name of the form, but basically like a representation letter that says this is what's going to happen, and then they need to. Oh, and by the way, I'm sorry, I forgot to mention. You need to mention who it's closing with and who the closing agent is, because they're going to reach out to the closing agent, and they want to get the title commitment from the closing agent so that they can make sure that everything is good on the legal side for you there. Again, that's one of the reasons I like Matt Aycock's firm, is that they really take those steps to make sure that things are working well for you.
And I think there's a big key that we need to remember when you're going through all that is that's why you need to have the right people on your team. You need to have the right custodian, which is
The right attorney, the right
attorney,
custodian.
the right title company, the right mentor, all on your team, so you don't have to know the ins and outs of all that.
And that's what we started out this conversation with, is like, look, I don't know everything about IRAs, but I know what I need to tell my lender in order for me to get money. And that's what I just told you. That's all we need to know as the investor, is what we just talked about right there. That's fairly simple, right? I could have gone over that in the 3 minutes and this episode would be done. But the key to this business is the negotiation and starting that conversation.
And then also having, I'm not going to do it.
Having a nice hole.
Yeah.
Being a nice
So
hole.
before we get to like final thoughts and really wrapping this up,
And getting to some questions and stuff.
yeah. Just really want to say thank you to everybody that's watched, that's watching. We're watching on a replay. Right now, we've still got about 30 on Facebook watching and about 10, 15 on YouTube watching.
Which is a little bit down. Once I started getting into the technicalities, we dropped to like 20 people.
Yeah. It's all good though. It's cool. But help us out with those shares. Help us out with those likes. I know it sounds like it really does. The way the Facebook and YouTube algorithms work, they work by engagement. Who's watching? Are they actively watching? And are they commenting? Are they sharing? So the more that even our audience does that, it allows the rest of our audience to watch it more. So hook us up with some shares, some likes, tweet about it, LinkedIn about it. But on the YouTube and all that stuff, would really appreciate it.
On the YouTube.
On the YouTube, which is also on the line. So let's hit some of these as questions, comments, and then we'll get to your final thoughts. And we'll just round robin and I don't know, words are hard. Brandon Richards, as you know, I am associated with the FFN. I don't know what that means. There are tons of people using
future farmers of Nebraska.
I don't know. Using 20,000 or less IRAs to fund to lend first and second lien positions. That's a great point. Like talking to Haley a lot about how tons of people are using 10 grand here, 10 grand there.
Yeah.
And the thing about being a real estate investor, no matter how successful you are, you can always place 10 grand.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It could be a carryover or just anything.
And I think maybe, and so here's to plan ahead. I think next week let's continue this conversation on private lending, right? Because there's some topics that I can get into that are really going to kind of blow your mind on what we can do on on this lending side, on how can we technically, and also being aware of these smaller amounts. Some people want to say, well, I could get 3 people with $20,000 to lend in on a property. That's dangerous, and there's reasons why that's dangerous. You want really stick to one investor per property. But let's talk next week on private capital just in general and kind of finish out some of these thought processes.
Are you saying it now
there.
so you don't have to text me and then it's on me if I forget?
No, I'm saying this now so that the viewers can know. If you want to know more about the private lending aspect of things, we spent some time specifically on the IRA, but let's talk more broadly and specifically on private lending next week on some more techniques of how to structure these deals. Tune in next week at 11 and we'll talk about that.
Arthur Martinez, thanks for doing this show, Grant.
Yeah, thanks Arthur for giving us a great recommendation for a topic. Again, I like Arthur a lot. And if you need a house sold and you're in DFW and you need an owner financed property sold, you can reach out to Arthur, and he also knows how to acquire properties. I don't want to oversell Arthur. I don't know what services you are and aren't offering to people, but PM him. DM him, is that the right?
I like to DM.
Okay.
So hail something, Grant, teach me, said Yoda.
Hey, do you know why the Star Wars movies were filmed in the order they were?
Bill Mays. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. What was it?
It's because directed by Yoda they were.
Bill Mays, I'm in the capital placement business. I think that's a great outlook. That's a great one-liner right there.
So I took I was at a REI club meeting about private capital one time, and I really liked the elevator pitch. You're not a real estate investor. If somebody asks you what you do, you're not a real estate investor. You're a fund manager. Right? Hey, so what do you do? I manage people's retirement funds, or I manage funds and secured by real estate or whatever. You're a fund manager. You're not a real estate investor. It's again, it's kind of a little bit of a different. It makes them the hero. It's, hey, I can help you get where you want to go, rather than look at me. I've got this sexy title of real estate investor.
Ask me what I do.
What do you do?
I make stupid videos while I drive home.
I do stuff.
I do stuff on the internet.
Josiah, 30 to 50K is a solid rental in my area. I can definitely help people with that amount. That's awesome. Very nice. And that's why I was saying, like, that's why earlier when I drew the line between enough to fund an entire deal and not enough to fund an entire deal.
And I like that distinction because, one, you're not saying I'm not going to do business with you, but you're also saying, hey, I have alternatives.
Right.
And you're leading that exclusivity, and you're the whatever. Brandon Richards, use it as a second lien or bridge money to lock a deal down with other funding, et cetera, or use to acquire sub 2.
Absolutely.
I think we were talking about the lower amounts.
Mark, can I use both my self-directed IRA money and my regular money to do a deal? So that's a little bit tricky, okay? So that's a little bit tricky. It's a really good question. If you're doing a deal for yourself, I think the answer is no. And I would like for Haley, if you're still watching, I'd like for you to chime in on that. I think the answer is no, because you cannot provide a service of any sort to the investment when your IRA is doing the investment. The IRA is the investor. You merely control that IRA. So for you to put money into a deal as well in any way, actually, I'm almost positive the answer is no.
Yeah.
Do you know that?
I don't know much, but I've been here and they filmed enough videos and they've done enough Academy videos that they have this airline flight attendant type diagram where it's like you can't go up and down or side to side.
Okay.
Like meaning anybody in your linear family, your parents or your kids or your brothers and sisters you're not allowed to use their money for your investments.
Okay.
So like your deal, you can't use any of their IRAs.
Okay. Good.
So.
Yeah, I knew that you can't personally benefit from that. You can't personally benefit. So here's the other thing is that, Mark, what I might recommend you do in that case, find somebody else that has an equivalent amount in their IRA. Maybe you can have an agreement with them where it's like, hey, you lend me your IRA, I'll lend you my IRA, so that way we can use our own money on these deals. Because, like, for instance, Mark, I could use money to go into a deal and use your IRA because I'm not a beneficiary of your IRA. I could do that. So if I had an IRA account that I was willing to lend to you, then we could kind of trade. Maybe that's a creative way to get around that, where it's like, look, I'll lend you mine at 6%, you lend me yours at 6%, and that way we can use our own money, and we're kind of really.
Yeah, and if the question is, and I don't know the answer, but if the question is, can I use my IRA and my money to do a deal? And if it's like, say, Grant's deal, and I'll fund half of your deal with my IRA and half of my money, half the other deal with my piggy bank, that might be an answer. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. That's
know.
a good question. That's a really good question that I'm not educated.
But if that's the question, I think that's worth exploring.
It is.
Brandon Richards, over $2 billion in management at Quest. They kind of know what they are doing.
Yeah, I think it's 3.5 now.
Well,
that's what they have. They totally do.
$2 billion,
though.
3.5.
Yeah,
That's a lot.
It's a lot. It's more.
It's more.
Matt Smith, I'm not going to read this one. I'm just going to say PM me. DM me. I will place your capital for you. I lost $4,000 last month into my 401k. Maybe self-directed is the way to go. And Matt, are you self-employed? Because you can actually convert that 401k over into a self-employed version of that 401k, which will allow you to self-direct, right? So that's a really good method for you to go. Absolutely. Stock market is volatile. That's one of our big things to pitch to people who have an IRA, is that their options are have their IRA retirement funds backed by the stock market, which is totally volatile and can go to zero, or have it secured by real estate, which is much more of a secured security, right?
Brandon Richards, Ted is the man. He writes my legal docs like NDAs, etc. Then Mariah services loans, and Heather sends the draw wires. So again, another subtle plug for the Pratt Aycock firm. Let's see what other lightning round we can get to. And of course, now that's when the the big comments come in. We can just read versus.
Sure. And Arthur's La Solucion Properties. Actually, so I trained, and just kind of a callback here too. You know, Arthur and John came to me separately. They were both students that didn't know each other, came to me separately. I trained them how to do this business back in 2013 or so. And through our classes, through the network of, and it wasn't named CreativeCashFlow.com back then. I was training just kind of in a different format. But they got to know each other. The kindred spirits, both really good at what they do, both hustlers, and now they've got a full-time business together where they're working together on this stuff, right? That is one of the benefits to joining something like CreativeCashFlow.com, is the networking, the ability to have like-minded individuals who are being trained by somebody who knows how to do this business, so that you know that if you're working with somebody within that network, they know what they're talking about. It really takes out a lot of the guesswork on partnerships, and again, it's super encouraging for me to see them still in this business. Again, I'm not taking credit for what they do, because, you know, I'll be really honest with you, only a handful of people that actually go through the education actually go do something with it. It's not, I can't take credit for that. I just put the possibilities in front of you, and what you do with it from there is all on you. So Arthur and John are hustlers. They're smart dudes, and they went out and they made it happen. I'm really happy to see that success story.
So let's hit up 2 more comments, and then we'll wrap up and call it a day.
Great.
So Gracie, so at least one person appreciated all the technicalities.
Good, Gracie. I'm glad you appreciated the technicalities. You know, we have to toe a fine line here, and I would really like for y'all's input too, through comments and that kind of stuff. Again, we ask for this a lot, but I pay attention to the viewership and that kind of stuff, and I understand that certain topics are sexier than others. If you like these technicalities, you know, encourage us by staying tuned in when we get there and letting us know that you want to know about those. So I appreciate you commenting on that.
Yeah, because again, if you really watch carefully, when Grant goes into technicalities, you'll see my face go. Anyway, Jeremiah, do you have, I don't know why, it's easy to read it here. Do you have to send the paperwork for using someone's IRA for each project?
Yeah, each project. So it depends on the structure of your lending with them, okay? So you can either structure with them an unsecured note that says there is no security for this loan. You're going to give me $500,000, and I'm going to pay you 8%, you know, for 10 years on it, which then allows you to basically use that as working capital, basically use that as a line of credit for yourself. They would fund the whole thing up front, and you place and you replace and you place and you replace. But if you do it secured by the real estate, then yes, you have to do a new piece of paperwork for every loan.
Cool. Final thoughts on the subject matter?
You know, I appreciate the comments. I appreciate you guys being in here and this conversation. This is a really, really good topic, and I love being able to get into that negotiation side of things, and and teaching. I have a passion for showing you guys how this stuff works, and I would really appreciate it if you guys have had some kind of success somewhere in your business off of knowledge that you've learned from this show or from Creative Cashflow. I would really appreciate it if you would send that to me in a DM or post it on my site, or like, you know, a Creative Cashflow on Facebook, or put it in these comments here. I can't tell you how much guys, this is a hard business. I'll tell you the truth. I mean, last week I tracked my time, and I'm probably going to release my time tracking just to show you guys like what it takes, because we're not acting like any of this is easy. And I'm still averaging 12 hours a day in work,
That's
right?
it?
I know, right? And that kind of information, letting me know that you're having a success, and we've had something to do with that, that's what keeps it going for us, because we don't know. You may know, man, this has been awesome, and I've gotten this success and that success and this success from it. But if you never tell me, from our perspective, we're just
show the behind the scenes, Trey. I mean, it's up here and back there, and that's all you get.
Yeah, we're just banging away up here and hoping that it's landing. So those wins for you, that's why I'm still here. That's what keeps us going.
And every once in a while, I mean, yes, we love the love on Facebook and on YouTube in the comments, and but I mean, we received a lovely letter in the mail yesterday from Rachel Cooper, and it was just like, oh. So basically, what I'm saying is, send me free shit, and send me love letters that made me go, oh.
It really keeps us encouraged.
It really makes us encouraged and happy. And I'll do a subtle plug for Pavelio. I won't go into everything we do, but I was kind of is belittled the word? I don't know. I was told sternly yesterday that I'm an idiot for not putting this out there more, but in case you care, Propelio does have an affiliate program. So if you would like to assist us promoting Propelio out on the interwebs, hit me up in an email, ryan@propelio.com. We'll set you up an affiliate link and help you make money by spreading the gospel of Propelio.
It's very cool. I am very involved with y'all, and I didn't know that. So that's good.
Exactly. For real?
Yeah, I really didn't know that.
Oh, well, there you go.
All right,
we're good
guys.
at some things, bad at some things.
Yeah, so again, hook up if you already believe and you want to help others get into it, get that affiliate, but that's a very smart thing to do. Guys, we appreciate you being here. We really do. We love doing this stuff. I can't wait to talk with you again next week. Drop in the comments if you got ideas, anything like that. We're going to talk more.
Let's not do that. Jeremiah, send Ryan a nice whole letter. No.
Dang it, now I forgot what. Oh yeah, tune in next
Exactly.
week. We're going to talk more about private money and more about some of the generalities and the specificities in negotiating and how to structure your private money. Today we talked more specifically on the IRA. Next week we'll talk more specifically on structuring that private capital. And this is going to make a huge change to your business. So thank you guys so much for joining us. I love seeing you here. And until next time, keep on learning.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Hey everybody, I'm Ryan with Propelio. If you like what you saw, please subscribe. Turn on those notifications and stick around for more. We have tons of content like this all over our channel. So if you want to learn more about real estate investing, stick around, watch Propelio TV, and we'll see you later.